Okay, good morning. All right, looking at trig identities. So there's some tips for doing these. They're all a little different. So you want to kind of think about what are some of these tricks. Remember that you can start with either side, but don't work with both of them. So generally speaking, it's good to start with the more complicated side. And for me, I see the right side looks more complicated. When I see secant, I generally think it's more complicated, those reciprocal ratios. There's more than one way to do these, so don't feel like, oh, I tried it another way and that was wrong. It could have been right. And again, it's sometimes, I have to, when I work with people, I don't know till I see what they're doing, where their mistakes are. So let's just go with, we're going to start with the right side, and we're going to make it look like the left side. So I look at secant, and besides starting with the more complicated side, another trick is to change things into sine and cosine. So I'm going to change the secant into 1 over the cosine. And that would be minus cosine A. So you want kind of to simplify those. That's just another tool. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does, but generally speaking, it does. So starting with a more complicated side, you can write these steps down, changing secants, cosecants, cotangents to sine cosine form, always good. So I look at this and I say, oh, as soon as I see a fraction with a subtraction, I think it's good to put them together. So I'm going to make a common denominator so I can simplify this right side. So I'm going to make a common denominator, and I look so I can add the fractions. And it can be intimidating when they're trig functions, but it works the same as any kind of fraction. So this would be over 1, and I see that a common denominator would be cosine. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom of the one on the right by cosine A. And I might not, it's probably not the case that you're going to know whether it's right or not, and your path that you're following with identities may not be correct, but it's okay. You just can try another strategy if it doesn't work. But this is the strategy I chose. This is the strategy I'm going to do. So I'm going to see where it leads me, and if I need to start again, I will. So I have 1 over cosine A minus cosine A times cosine A, so that's cosine squared A, over 1 times cosine A, which is cosine A. So now I have this common denominator, and that can kind of trip some people up. Again, it depends where you're at with fractions, but I'm allowed to just write both numerators as one problem up above, and I just write the denominator once. That's how you add fractions. You add the numerators once you have a common denominator. So this is looking promising, because as soon as I see this 1 minus, I know I have a Pythagorean identity. Yay, right? So I have a Pythagorean identity. So that's going to be sine squared A, which is good. Again, I see that I'm going for tan A sine A, but it's okay. I'm just kind of following this path and seeing where I get to. So I look at this, and then I go, there's not a lot here that I think to do. So let me look at what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to tan times sine. And if I look at this, maybe you can see, if I were to separate those signs, the squared sine, into a sine and another sine, then I would get sine over cosine, and there's that tangent and that extra sine. Sometimes you just look at it and go, gosh, it doesn't seem like I'm going anywhere. Wait a minute, I can separate this, and I'm just going to write it out in case, again, I don't know where your level of understanding is. So I'm just writing them out twice so you can see what's going on. And it's kind of hard sometimes just to be the only one talking, but let's just go with what we're writing. So I've got this problem now, and I'm allowed, when I have this multiplication, I can move this sine A just next to it. And that's okay. So this problem is the same as sine A over cosine A. We're not doing a common denominator, and you're allowed to separate that multiplication. Anything that's multiplied on the top can just be shifted over to the side. You've done this with, in Algebra 2. And you can see there's my tangent, and there's my sine A, and that is what we're looking for on the left side. So again, it doesn't matter which side you start with, but usually if you start with the more complicated side, you're going to end up being able to find a path to the simpler side because you're kind of simplifying as you go. All right, so good luck with the rest of your identities. They can be challenging. Don't forget, try something, see where you end up, and then you can always backtrack and start all over again. All right, good luck.